In this short video, we're going to become acquainted with the free app Sequence Composer. We'll also be making a simple sequence that will be exported to a Morsel so that we can quickly see the light effect we created. First, we need to download the latest version of Sequence Composer. We can get it from PowerCookieBoards.com, select the Apps tab at the top, and under Sequence Composer, select Visit the App page for downloaded installation information. Then scroll down to the download and click the download link. This particular version happens to be the Albanese release 1.3. Yours may be a later version. When it's finished downloading, you can click on the file to open it. In the new window, run setup.exe by double-clicking it. This should start the installer. However, if you don't see the installer, but instead this screen, Windows Defender may have safely attempted to block the program from running. Now, it's trying to protect your computer against applications it doesn't yet recognize. In this case, it happens to be a false alarm. You may have to click the More Info link, and then a button will appear to run anyway. After clicking that, the installer will start. Now, on the first page of the installer, it says, "The installer will guide you through the steps required to install Sequence Composer on your computer." On clicking Next, you'll see the EULA here, which basically says you agree not to reverse engineer or steal the software. Once you click I agree, we have the choice now of where to install the app and who to install it for. We're just going to leave the default choices and click Next to start the installation. Now, after it finishes installing, you can now run the app from the desktop shortcut or from the Start menu under the folder PowerCookie Boards. Now, the application itself has a very simple interface made up of four main parts: the menu and toolbar at the top, the phrase buttons on the side, the main text area, and the Find tool at the bottom. The menu and toolbar at the top contain many functions that are common to text editors. For example, the ability to create a new file, open one, save it, undo, redo, cut, copy, paste. But it also has a few functions that are used specifically for Sequence Composer, including the ability to comment code and indenting and unindenting lines we write. Now, the phrase buttons on the left, when clicked, will insert a phrase into the main text area that Sequence Composer can actually understand. By hovering the mouse over one of these phrase buttons, a bubble pops up, and it shows what it will insert, what it means, and how to use it. We will be using these shortly. Now, the main text area is where we'll be doing most of our work. We could write a book in here if we wanted. Of course, Sequence Composer might not understand what we wrote, but by writing phrases it does understand, for example, those few phrases from the left of the main text area, we can export our light effects to a Morsel. The Find tool at the bottom can help us quickly find words within the text. Notice that by typing the word be, it found two matches in the main text area. And by clicking the Next and Previous buttons, the main text area will highlight each match. This is a really useful tool, especially if you want to quickly find and replace something in your sequence. Now, just to the right of the Find tool are buttons that control how large the text is in the main text area. You can also adjust this by holding Control and pressing plus or minus, or Control and using the mouse wheel, or through the View menu. Now, just to the left of the Find tool is the line and column that the cursor happens to be on in the main text area. This will be important to us when trying to find errors that we make. Within the main text area, we can choose to show numbers that will tell us what line we're on by going to View, Show Line Numbers. It's off by default. The last thing to note is that Sequence Composer can automatically check for updates when it starts. You can turn off that feature by clicking the uncheck Help Check for Updates on Start. To check for updates at any time, you can click Help About and select Check for Updates. It will tell you if you have the latest version, or if not, ask if you'd like to go to that page to download the latest update. Alright, now the quickest way to understanding Sequence Composer is simply to write a sequence. We're going to start by modeling an incandescent light as seen on a radio tower at night. Well, what might that look like? Perhaps you've seen them before. They fade in slowly, stay on for a little bit, then fade out slowly and stay off for a little bit before starting all over again. So what would we write in Sequence Composer? Well, we can start by clicking the Fade From phrase button. In the main text area, a whole phrase should be written. Now, before we explain what it means, let's take a step back for a minute. A Morsel device can have LEDs connected to its LED ports, which are the green connectors around the edges. These ports are lettered A through I. Now, sequences made with Sequence Composer don't directly light up an LED port. Instead, sequences light up what we call channels. Now, you can think of sequences kind of like a song that's played in stereo. A song in stereo has two channels, a left channel and a right channel, and those channels have to be sent to the correct speakers. Now, usually, whatever is playing the song knows how to send the left channel to the left speaker, and it knows how to send the right channel to the right speaker. So then, bringing it back to a Morsel that's playing a sequence, how does the Morsel know how to send a sequence channel to the desired LED port, which will then light up the desired light? Well, it's with something that we call a theme. And with a free app theme designer, you can easily tell a Morsel what sequence channels will be sent to whichever LED ports you want. Now, to make our discussion simpler, we're going to use a helpful feature of Sequence Composer so we don't even have to think about that. It's called Export a Test Theme and Sequence. Now, when we're ready to send our light effect to a Morsel, this test theme will automatically make channels 1 through 9 of our sequence go to LED ports A through I of the Morsel. So, for example, channel 1 of our sequence will go to LED port A. Now, looking back at our phrase now, let's start figuring out what it means. It starts with CHN, which is an abbreviated way of writing the word channel. Now, right now we haven't said which channel we're using, so let's specify that by writing a 1 right after the CHN, without any space. So it reads, channel 1 is going to fade from 0% to 100% for half a second. The percentages here refer to how bright the LED is going to be, so 0% being completely dark, 100% being completely bright. Now, this fade operation is going to last for half a second, and when it completes, it's going to stay at whatever brightness it ended at, which in this case is 100%. For the fade duration, we could have specified it in milliseconds. For this example, we're just going to stick to using seconds for everything. Alright, well, we accomplished the first part, fade from off to on slowly, but now how do we tell the sequence to wait? Well, it's by telling the time. Click the phrase time, and it will insert at 0 milliseconds, as you can see. Again, we'll write this in seconds just to make it easier. In fact, let's change it so that it reads at 2 seconds. What this is saying is that anything written after this phrase will occur at 2 seconds after the beginning. Okay, well, then when is this supposed to happen? Well, it's implied, but we may as well write it just to make it obvious. This is occurring at 0 seconds, or the very beginning of the sequence. So, at the beginning, channel 1 will fade from 0% to 100% for half a second. Then it's going to stay at 100% until 2 seconds occurs. After that, we can make it, that is again, channel 1, fade from 100% to 0% for half a second. After that, we can tell another time, setting at 4 seconds. Then the sequence would continue. But is anything really happening at 4 seconds from the beginning? Well, sequences are a lot like a song on repeat. That is, it'll keep playing over and over again. So writing at 4 seconds is telling the sequence to wait until the 4th second until it's ready to start all over again from the beginning. Alright, well, it looks like we're done with the radio tower now, so let's be sure to save our work. You can do this from the File menu, Save or Save As, or click the floppy disk icon on the toolbar. On the Save File window, name it something memorable, like a radio tower. You'll notice after saving that the name now appears at the top of the window. Okay, let's see how this turned out. First, connect your comlink to the computer and to the Morsel. Then in Sequence Composer, select from the menu Tool, export a test theme in sequence. A new window should pop up. Select the comlink device. If yours is connected, it will appear as COM with a number after it. When the green checkmark shows up, select Send Files. Now when it finishes, you will see the radio tower light effect that we just made go up on the LED port A. Looks great. You'll notice back in Sequence Composer that a green bar reports that it compiled successfully. But what if we make a mistake? For example, what if we left a space between CHN and the number 1? Well, watch what happens when we try to export a test theme now. Sequence Composer shows an error happened and says that it expected to see it on a particular line and column. We can find that by either clicking in the main text area and see what line and column we happen to be on in the lower left corner and keep clicking until we get to the mistake. Or more easily, we can click the error message itself to jump instantly to where Sequence Composer had a problem. After fixing the problem by removing the space, we can click the X to close the error and try exporting again. And it works! In this video, we became acquainted with Sequence Composer. We also quickly created a simple radio tower light effect and saw it working on an LED attached to a Morsel. Now this is one type of radio tower, but a radio tower in your area may have a different lighting pattern. How would you model a radio tower that more quickly fades on and off, or perhaps doesn't pause at the brightest or darkest moments? Please feel free to leave a comment. And if you have any questions about Sequence Composer or anything else, please feel free to contact us from our website. Happy lighting!